This is some angle iron that I got. I've got to build. I'm going to build some shelves for dugouts for Little League baseball. Um, just at a local field, guy that I know, his kids play Little League, so it's kind of his sponsorship. He providing the shelves for the dugouts. So there's going to be 6 shelves, 3 in each dugout, and they go between, the dugouts are made out of 4x4 columns, pressure treated into the earth, and then there's roofs on top of them. So there's going to be 3 separate shelves in between the 4x4 columns in the dugouts. They're going to be varying lengths. As a matter of fact, I've got to go remeasure them. We went out and measured them. He gave me measurements, but I want to double check them before I actually build it. So they're varying lengths, but they're approximately a little over 6 feet long, each one, and they're going to be 12 inches wide. So there's going to be they're going to be made out of the 3/4 inch angle iron the shelf is, with the expanded metal in it, and then the 1.25 inch angle iron is going to be tross for bats. When I say tross, for the knob on the bat, you can slide it into it, and then there will be some hooks on it that they can hang their bags and stuff on. But just thought I'd show you the material. I'm going to try and get back out there again tomorrow to just verify those measurements, and I will bring it back and show you building it. Maybe I'll even bring it along while I go out there to measure them up, but I'll bring it back. Okay, so what I did is start putting these little frameworks together for the baseball thing. I've only done the one, just set it up. I wanted to make sure that I was able to do it, got it right. When I say got it right, what I did is set up a little jig so that I can bring the angle iron in here. I've got clamps on this end to kind of hold it in place, the square on this end. So what I do is bring them in, tack them, flip it around, tack the other side, and then turn it over and weld it. And I'll show it to you how it works once I get it set up. So there's the one. I just kind of tacked it out on both sides. Probably haven't finished welded it. What I'll do is, after I get them all tacked up in place, I'll bring them, come back and finish weld them and kind of grind over some of the corners. But I just wanted to get a sample out, or get one out that I could, get one out that I could, as I'm saying that, I'm kind of thinking of something else at the same time. Yeah, I should have figured that right, the expanded metal. I'm sorry, so I'll get that out, and we can, I'll film it as we go along. Sorry for the hesitation, I was just thinking about that expanded metal. But anyways, I'll bring you back. What I'm going to be doing is tacking one of these Little League baseball shelves up. Of course, when I turn the camera on, the thing. Okay, take 2. Just sometimes when I'm spot welding, it jams up in the nozzle. What I do is then flip it around. And that's a tack for that one. Just putting them up here and welding them out now. I'm just welding that one seam on the back side. Let me show you what I'm doing here is this is going to be the slide rack for the bats. The knob will go inside of that. I'm just tacking it up because I don't have a bat, and kind of went online and figured out how big the knob was on a bat, but not really sure how big the grip where it tapers down before the knob is. So I cut a couple of pieces. I'm gonna tack it up, and the guy that's doing this is supposed to be bringing me one of his son's bats so that I can test fit it. So I'll bring you back when I'm done with it. I'll show you tacking this thing up, but what I did is I just put a magnet, one of them right angle magnets across it to hold it in place. I marked the center lines. There's 4 of them, so I made 4 equal spaces on this thing, and then you know, took the centers out. I went 4 inches from end to end. The knob is supposed to be 2.5 inches, so 2.5 inches gives you, sorry. So the knob will be fairly big in there, but again, I'm just tacking it, gonna test fit it, and then we'll go from there. Huh. Man, I hate that mill scale on this stuff. Anyways, I'll bring it back. Okay, so back on the bat thing. Now, I gotta tell you, I'm really glad that I only tacked these 2 on here and kind of waited, because he brought over one of his son's bats, and on the internet they say that the knob is supposed to be 2.5 inches. Well, this knob is only 2 inches, and But this is a small bat, apparently, for like Little Leagues. But the problem is with that 4-inch spacing, even though it works, it is possible for the bat to come out. So I've got to narrow this up a little bit, but yet still keep it big enough for a larger bat that would possibly have a 2.5-inch knob and a thicker taper up to the knob. Now, this thing is at 7/8, and that's with a wrap around it. Now it gets thicker towards the knob, but man, I'm glad I waited. So anyways, I'm going to cut these off and narrow the thing up. So I'll bring you back for that. So what I did is I cut those pieces that were tacked on off, cleaned up the edges of it. Now what I did is I got that mill scale off too, so I really hate that mill scale that's on there. It's hard to weld through almost sometimes. So what I'm going to do is lay them out so they're a little narrower now, and I'll bring you back. Okay, I'm just tacking these out. And I'll just keep doing this and then come back and weld them out. Okay, so they're tacked. What I'm going to do now is just weld them out. Not that there's not that much area to weld on, but I'm going to try and weld them out. What I want to do now is I'm going to go back through and just throw a little tack on the inside of it. And what I'll do is I'll turn it around and take the other side. Working on these shelves again for the Little League baseball thing. What I've done here is the first one I put the expanded metal in, but what I looked at after I had done that is trying to get paint down into the crevices of where the ball or the bat knob fits. It'd be hard to spray paint in there through the expanded metal, so the rest of these I've not put the expanded metal on. What I'm going to do is probably get some paint, throw paint in there into the bat rack, and then I'll weld the expanded metal on over it, and just I can touch up the paint for the weld spatter afterwards. But I'll show you, I'm doing the next to the last one now, welding the bat rack thing onto it. So I'll show you some of that, and then I've got the last one to do. The last one, I kind of when I resized the angle iron and went in a different route, I just I screwed up somehow, and the 3/4 inch angle iron that I used for the frames I was short on. So but I was long on the 1 1/4 inch angle iron, so I'm going to use a piece of 1 1/4 inch angle iron in the last frame. It'll be on the back of the back of it. So 3 sides will be out of 3/4 inch angle iron, and 1 side will be out of 1 1/4 angle iron, but it won't make any difference. But I'll bring you back. I just kind of wanted to show you this. What I did is I used some old stock that I had just laying around. As you can see, part of it is round, some of it is square. What I did is put them in the back of the bat rack just so that the bats wouldn't slide all the way through, so there'd be a stop for them to keep from coming out the back. What I'm going to do is go get some paint now, and like I said in a previous video, what I'm going to do is paint the inside of that bat slide before I put the expanded metal on. That way there's a good coat of paint on it, and I'm not trying to paint it through the expanded metal. But I'll bring it back. I've kind of lost track of if I've shown this or not shown this. What I did is just lay that expanded metal out onto the, I've got a couple of sawhorses, some 2x2s, 2x4s, to lay it out on, and cut it with a cutoff wheel on a grinder. What I do is just measure the opening and then put it in there. So I just cut this one, and what I'll do is tack weld it in there. And again, what I did was I have actually painted the inside of those bat racks, and because you can't paint through it, I actually tried to paint this one. The one thing that I kind of forgot is I've got to get hooks, so I'm going to have to weld some hooks onto this thing. But I got paint into it, but it's not very good. You know what I mean? And it'll probably show signs of rust after a while, unless maybe I can get, after he puts it up, I'll get him to get a small brush and some paint and just dab on the inside of it. But I should have thought about that before I welded that expanded metal on. But anyways, I've cut that expanded metal for the next one, and that's what I'm going to be doing, is cutting expanded metal for these things. So I'll bring it back. I just wanted to show you guys, I'm on the last 2 of these things, the baseball shelf, and the first 4 I was able to get out of a full sheet of expanded metal. But the last 2, what I had to do was take the leftover pieces and that extra piece that I bought and kind of space them together. So you can't really put expanded metal, I mean weld it together or you know, get it together in thin spaces or open space. So what I did is I found a piece of scrap metal and just welded it between the 2 pieces of frame where the 2 pieces are going to join together, so that I can tack weld it, and I won't have any sharp edges where the kids could catch their hands or fingers on and cut themselves. So I just kind of wanted to show you that. And I'll paint it up. You know, it's got a hole in it, but nobody will probably ever notice it. I'll know about it, but nobody will ever notice it. Okay, so just to show you, I put the hooks on. Now, what I did is I went to Tractor Supply and was able to get them. Now, they're 1/4 inch hooks. Most of them are 1/4 inch hooks. I took their entire supply of 1/4 inch hooks, and then the rest I grabbed a couple of 5/16 and finished it off with that. But I just put them towards the back, more towards the back of the shelf, and faced them up to the side just so it would be easier to get the strap on. You know, if the hook was running parallel with the metal, you might have a little issue getting the strap, or struggle to get the strap into the hook. So I faced them off the side just so it'd be easier. But I wanted to show you that. Actually, here's where I ran out of the quarter, and these are 5/16. But anyways, I'll bring you back. I've got to paint, and I'll bring you back. So I just wanted to give you a shot of these things painted. There's that one, and I don't know how well this is going to show up with a light in the shop here. But anyways, I don't know whether I'll be able to show it to you installed. But anyways, there it is. They're well, it's finished. I mean, I've got more to paint, but basically they're finished. So if I do get a chance to show them after they're installed, I'll just throw it up as an update or something.